anyway, he said that... Which they'll do, and then they'll say, well, it was for the greater good, right? That's why you see a lot of women violating NDAs. I think there was... Tiger Woods might have had one. Oh, well, we're trying to get that nullified with his girlfriend who was living in his house and trying to sue him and take money from him. They're not even married. Modern women do that, man. Female underrepresentation in the hard sciences was attributable to a lot of different factors, not necessarily just prejudice or bias or the patriarchy not thinking ladies can be scientists. There is a difference of aptitude at the very, very, very high ends. If you're talking about people who are going to be tenured at MIT, that's the way out at the end of the bell curve, and there tend to be more men out there than women. And also differences in taste. That is, women tend to gravitate towards professions and fields where they get to deal with people as opposed to something really cold and abstract like physics. Not to say that no women do, but that is the tendency. So women who are way out there at that end of the bell curve and have the aptitude for a career in hard science would maybe gravitate to something like medicine as opposed to something like physics. Yep. So Larry Summers said all this, and there were a bunch of lady scientists in the audience who said, how dare you? And they gave quotes to a reporter, something like, I felt like I was going to throw up, or I thought I was going to black out. And it became a huge controversy. And there were a lot of other controversies during Larry Summers' tenure as president of Harvard. So that was not the only thing that brought him down, but it was definitely at the very top of the list. And about a year later, he resigned.
And what's really interesting is with that case, and now I don't doubt that it caused a massive stir when he went on and basically went, I'm going to freestyle and deliver truth bombs to all of you. So here we are, enjoy it. But he's also, if you get to be president of Harvard, you are going to make enemies aplenty. In order to get to that position, you're going to have to fire people, antagonize people, because that's just the nature of the job. So he would have had loads of enemies who were willing just to pounce at that particular moment, surely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm trying to remember some of the other controversies that have attended Larry Summers' career. And I believe one from his tenure at the World Bank was when he said, are we sure we want to really, really enforce labor laws against having sweatshops in third world countries? Because isn't having sweatshops good for them sometimes? I mean, it leads to economic development. He phrased it in a really blunt way. Mm-hmm. I feel like this is a guy who has a history of putting his foot in his mouth in a way that I frankly find really admirable.
Yeah. But certain people don't. So then has that been extrapolated right the way through society, essentially, is your argument?
That was one of the first times that a cancellation happened, that people heard somebody say something offensive, pitched a little fit, and managed to rob this person of his job. And the particular aspect of it that seemed so full of foreboding looking back is that... You're talking about pitching fits. What they'll do is they'll find, if nothing's being done about it, we're dealing with a generation of people in general that will find a person's information. They'll find it and they'll post it online. And they'll say, oh, it wasn't me that did it. But people will get so mad and enraged that they'll be at that person's house, physically trying to harm that person in an indirect way. Is that there was no attempt to debate the issue rationally. There were plenty of people, even people on the Harvard faculty, with eminent expertise in the relevant scientific fields, willing to stand up and say everything Larry Summers said was perfectly within the scientific mainstream. Greater male variability hypothesis, everybody thinks that. So there were people willing to say he's right on the facts. Criticize him all you want for his tone, but he was right on the facts. Yep. And the women who went after his job... Sounds like Kevin Samuels. Sounds like Kevin Samuels. Were not willing to have that debate. They were not willing to talk about it rationally. They just said, I'm offended. I felt like I was going to black out. He was invalidating my career. This is everything I work for. Very much a feelings over facts kind of thing. And so I don't mind if there are people who are feminists or who have different political views to those that I have, but it's important that we be able to debate them, right? That we have rational arguments. And this was one of the first instances where people just said, no, I'm not gonna debate it. I'm just gonna say I'm offended. And that's gonna be the end of the story.
Because Jordan Peterson used to talk a lot about this, where he used to talk about one of the ways that females try and destroy or attack other people isn't through the physical realm, it's through reputation destruction. And this is essentially what you're talking about, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
This episode of Trigonometry is brought to you by...
So, I put that there so I can pose a question to women and men, particularly women. Oh, if you're looking for this dude's logical dating 101 for his YouTube. But anyways, the point I'm trying to make is this. For women and men, particularly women, if you all could rule the world, if you all could have the power that you all want, would you define your power structure on facts or feelings? Would you define your power upon facts or feelings? Because that's why the world says that many women can't do well in power positions. Like, just think of the world if it was ruled by all women. Just think about it. Just use your imagination. The world would probably work for like a month and then blow up. Just think about it in the microcosm concept. Women don't even get along with each other on a daily basis. So how would you rule a planet or rule a company or rule? And I say that not to discourage women from having power. I say that to feed a narrative, to propose a narrative saying, if we were to have power, how would we do it if we can't even get along now? Because God will give women power. But he already knows what's going to happen. He will give men power again. But he already knows what's going to happen. What he wants to do is give both power and say, man, do it again. Do it once again. Before things went weird before, I gave you all power together and you all messed it up. I will do it again and see what happens. So I want to pose this dialogue to men and women. If we were to rule this land once again, how would we do it if we can't even get along separately? And if we are going to do it separately, hold on, someone's at the door. Let me find out who's trying to destroy my peace. Talk to y'all soon.